So as we work through today, first we want to just let you know who we are here. Today there are two of us from the CANS Institute training. My name is Barry Wexler. I definitely recognize our names that have joined us today on our registration list and who I see here. So it's nice to see folks again if we've been together in the past. I know Dr. Hidalgo is part of our coaching team, so a very familiar face, and glad to have you here. And hopefully you'll be able to add, and feel free to add to the discussion as anyone else can as well. So I am joining you today from Rochester. I work for Hillside, and I am part of the organization development, learning, training team there. I've been a part of the CANS Institute since 2018. And my role is not only to support the health homes within the Western region of New York, but also in partnering with the other agencies that represent the Institute. We are here to support anyone from anywhere in the state, really, for your needs in anything from your technical assistance with your TCOM training account to certification process and reliability, but also throughout your use of the CANS in your practice with families, clients, youth, and anywhere that you may come across questions, struggles, barriers. We are available with just the ease of a phone call or email. And then a big part of what we do also is to offer and facilitate these trainings, both those that are required by DOH and the ones that are elective, and some professional development opportunities such as this Lunch and Learn. So I'm happy to be here with you today. And joining me is Mr. Brandon Howlett.
Hi guys, I'm familiar with some of you guys as well. Brandon Howlett coming to you from the CANS New York Technical Assistance Institute. I am actually in Albany, New York, a beautiful Smallbany, nice rainy day. That's fairly typical. And I've also been a part of the CANS New York Technical Assistance Institute since 2018. I started my participation with the Institute at one of our partnering agencies, one of our subcontracted lead agencies in the Institute, and I've sort of crossed over to the John Praed Foundation. And so welcome to today's session. In terms of tech, our training window is from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. So if for any reason you get knocked off of the call today, just sign back in. Barry and I will be here. And in the event that we get knocked off, you can just hang out here. We will be back. So that's pretty much it. I am not as familiar with some of the names as I am with others. So if we really could, with this small intimate group, can we just go down the list very quickly? Give me your name, your agency, your role, and an idea of what you do at your agency. I'll start with Bianca. Hi, Bianca. If you're speaking, you are on mute.
And if you don't have a mic, please feel free to use the chat box as well for any reason.
All right, so let's jump to Cherise. Cherise, how are you?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome.
I'm good, thank you. I'm from Rochester Regional, and I'm a care manager for the children's end of it.
Excellent, thank you for being here. Dr. A.H., how are you?
I'm doing well. So for those who don't know who I am Arabella's. I'm a bilingual supervisor for Children's Health Home in New York City, and I'm also a CANS coach for the downstate region. Excellent,
thank you. I guess, Bianca, you can put your stuff in the chat box, or, you don't have to do that. Anyway, we're going to move forward with our learning objectives. Barry's going to take us through our learning objectives.
Yeah. I have to apologize because the pair of readers I chose today are the ones that, instead of being like the anti-glare, are the enhanced glare reflective, apparently. I cannot find the sweet spot, so I apologize for my reflection in my glasses. I've been trying to figure out how to avoid that, but Such is life with virtual learning. So let's look at today what we're here today about and what we're going to do. So we have established some learning goals for today that'll guide our discussion and presentation, have guided the curriculum and the slides we've put together. But more important than that, if at any time you have a question or a comment or a story to share about anything relevant, please just unmute yourself, put something in the chat box. The conversation that we can have and learn from each other is always more beneficial and richer and even more important than perhaps what we have on the slides for you. So we are always open, and you're never interrupting if you have something that you want to get out of the discussion, because that's why we're here. So please do so. But we are going to move through today. Hopefully by the end of our lunch and learn, we'll have defined, and you will be able to do this as well, define the 4 levels of fluency for working with the CANs. Identify what your current level of fluency is. We're going to do some sort of self-assessment to kick things off and figure out where you are, and then look at the typical strategies of the CANs users at each of the levels. So what does it look like for someone who is at a certain level of development or fluency? What are their practice procedures? What is their knowledge level? And then how do we get to building our skills and moving from one level of fluency to the next and increasing that going forward? So that's what today is about. Does anyone have something they came today with different in mind based on either the description or title of the Lunch and Learn, or anything additional that you'd like to get out of our time together?
Just answering Brandon's question, just to continue learning more. And I guess for all of the participants to also continue to learn more, to for all of us to keep using it in our CANs and with our families.
Yeah, great. I think that even if you come just for an opportunity to hear one new thing, right? Whenever we're together and learning, and any opportunity I know that I have to hear another perspective, or just this little micro focus on one area today, there's usually something you walk away with that maybe you didn't even expect you'd get out of it. So I agree that it's always, there's always something to keep learning and to keep growing. And that's why we're really glad when folks can take some time and take advantage of these opportunities together. And because we learn from everyone else as well. And that's what this is really about. We want to know what needs are out there, how we can help more, and ideas for even future lunch and learn, so that, as you said, we can all just continue to learn and use the tool to help with the outcomes with the families and the youth we work with. So thank you. Other thoughts, other ideas of what you hope to get from today? Anyone else? I hope to get through today without anyone losing their internet connection. In addition to all the other objectives, of course. Well, feel free to add anything at any time as we go through.
Therese, were you about to say something? I wasn't sure if you were trying to chime in there.
Yes, I was just about to text it into the chat, but I guess what piqued my interest and made me kind of drawn to this training in particular is when I find fluency in anything, that's when I find my stride. That's when I feel more comfortable, and I'm kind of looking for that connection right now because things are picking up. You know, I'm not new to casework by any means, but I'm new to care management and kind of like the flow of everything. And that's what I need. I need flow. That's I guess my flow, for lack of better words.
Oh, that is great. And thank you so much for sharing. And I can relate, for sure. I can relate. You know, I talk about, and I still reflect on the moment. I can almost like put myself back in that spot, the day that something clicked for me in learning the use of the CANs, and the shift has made all the difference in that I was able to finally make that shift from going item by item and using the action levels in this scale of 0 to 3. And instead, okay, this is about the big picture, right? This is about communicating the relevant parts that show up on the cans for this story, right? It's not about having to communicate a number for every single item. It's what is relevant for this youth. And so when I hear a story or I read a vignette, close my eyes for a minute and say, okay, what sticks out for me? This is what I'm hearing needs work, support. Here's a strength that exists. Now let me go put those on the cans where they apply. And really, I had to move away from that idea growing up in school, where when you take a multiple choice test, there should be like an equal distribution of all the numbers, right? And that's not at all where we are with this. You're going to have a lot of zeros on your needs, because even though all those items are important and all of them are relevant to someone, they're not all relevant to everyone, right? So all 93 things aren't going to be relevant to each case we're working on. So we want to find the things that are, and those are the things we want to put into our planning and help with. And that for me kind of gave that idea of that flow you're talking about, so that I could approach each time without, over focusing or hyper focusing or frustration. And that was a good starting place for me to build a little bit more confidence and a little bit more fluency. And then of course, with time, just knowing the items. So we're going to kind of take a look at what you're describing, what I kind of described too, and where that fits in a little bit here. So what we want to start off with is sharing with you this framework, or the development of fluency graphic that we have. So this is going to be the tool that is the center of our discussion today. And what we've developed here and what we will walk through are these 4 stages of fluency by describing a care manager's skills in using the CANS New York tool. Our skills and knowledge for the tool, they're going to vary depending on our work experience, right? Charisse, you shared that you're not new to this field, right? And the more experience that we have, we are going to bring strengths and we're going to bring needs, but we're also going to bring a wealth of prior experience to the work we're doing. And so that can be so helpful. And sometimes if we are trying to use a tool and learn the specific CANS tool, there are things that can still be hangups for folks who are very experienced in the field and in the work of case management and in helping families and youth. And we all have different learning styles that we bring as well. So I often think about folks and how we use the CANS as this craft that's continuing. I feel like I'm continuing to fine tune it, or continuing to build the fluency to get to that flow, that place of confidence and ease of the tool, so that I can expand on how it's used. So there's always more learning, always more experience, and we can always keep growing with this tool. So we've broken down the stages into 4 levels. The novice, which I'm going to just summarize these here, and we'll get into them a little bit more. But you can see here, a novice is an individual who's brand new to the CANS, maybe a new care manager, or not yet certified in this specific tool, or in a TCOM tool in general, right? Beginning to learn through the online course to work toward that certification. And maybe is going to soon be attending a live training such as this, or the required CANS introductory training, and maybe has not yet attended. So we are looking at a novice, right? Just as it sounds, that very green person. And we're going to move then into looking at what it looks like to be in that development level, when you're developing your fluency, right? So this could be someone who is, when you're newly certified, so you've gone through that rote training, the modules, the videos, passed the certification at the reliability, looking at vignettes. So just when you're comfortable with understanding how the vignettes work, now perhaps you may start to branch into giving your first, fulfilling your first cans with a real youth and family. And then applying that, and now it looks different, feels different. And so that becomes a new sort of muscle memory to build for using the tool. So at this stage, family engagement is important. That's something folks are trying to build, feel comfortable with their approach to delivering the cans and to gathering the information, and to really get that cans done and figure out those action levels. Then we move into the confident level in the purple here. And as a care manager at this level, we may be very familiar with the structure of the tool now, really comfortable with the CANS language of the items, the domains, et cetera, understanding the modules and what we kind of are looking for that would open up a deeper dive into those modules. Understand the framework of TCOM, right? That this tool isn't just a questionnaire, a checklist, really understanding the framework of that transformational collaborative outcomes management and how this CANS tool is a strategy to reach that framework and that idea of transformation instead of service providing and checking off the hours we are with a family. This is also the stage at which the confidence level is building so that the tool is something that is used in our planning. So that's a really, really important part of the use of the CANS, is that it should drive the plan of care. So it could be used for our measuring those outcomes and readjusting, looking at celebration of changed outcomes, or perhaps being able to see when new needs arise, and using the tool to really be that measure throughout the journey and all the time that we're working with a particular youth. Then in that advanced level of fluency, it's most likely going to be someone seasoned care manager, perhaps supervisor, efficient, accurate, very comfortable in collaborating and knowing the purpose of collaboration. And that efficiency can carry through not only completing the CANS, but the work with the family and the time with the collaborators as well. And to really be accurate and complete in telling the story through the use of the CANS and the needs and strengths, and really seamlessly threading the assessment tool and tying together everything through that journey of care. So we're looking at that treatment plan and being able to monitor, looking at the background needs, target needs. How can we have the most outcome and affect the most change with how we create the treatment plan, and also having that shared vision as the guide as well. And so expanding on all those elements and layers that the CANS can help us with. And that's where we would find ourselves perhaps at the advanced level. Hi, Emily, welcome. So we are going to have a chance to come back and see this graphic a little more. We want to start with that and show you that as our frame of reference. But we want to begin, before we get into where we are, how to build those skills to bring us throughout these fluency levels. We want to begin with a little self-reflection here. So we're going to do a little self-assessment, and it's designed to be rated using similar rating structure as the CANS, right? We have a 0, 1, 2, and 3 here. Not unlike the CANS too, we want you to be sure not to be judgmental of yourself in doing this. No one will need to share your self-assessment, but we certainly will invite folks to, for if it helps you and if you feel like it would help your colleagues as well in our discussion. But here's how we want you to take a look at this. I think the way that we framed this self-check-in, the ratings are more similar and mimic our child's strengths domain, right? Where we're looking at this 0 as something that is very comfortable and routine, when using the tool. Maybe we don't need any help, right? When we identify a child's strength as a 0, we say it's a centerpiece. They can use it all on their own. And it's like the adults don't even need to lay hands on it, because this is something that is so their own. They own this, and we're really gonna, use that in everything we do. It's that comfortable. When we self-reflect on our use of the cans too, a 1 is going to be something we're comfortable. We use it. Maybe we're still building on the routine of it, making it flow, not yet at that place where we want it to be. And maybe occasional help, which is fine. Everyone always needs help, even at the 0, right? It's always good to collaborate with people. But you get it. Sometimes a little sticky still at that level of 1. We'd want to self-reflect on a 2 being the appropriate way to rate this if we're using the cans, we've tried using it. We've been successful in some ways, maybe a little more comfortable, but very inconsistent in the comfort level of the entire use of the tool, and maybe that big picture of using it. Still needing help, still developing skills for sure. And that 3 is going to be that self-reflection where we say, you know what, actually, I've never done this, or this isn't comfortable at all. I haven't approached this. And the way we've worded these will make sense in just one moment when we flip to our next slide, because here is what we're going to ask you to self-reflect on. So take a few minutes. We have items A through F here to read each of these items to yourself. And I'm actually going to launch a poll for you. Actually, Brandon, if you want to do that, it should be all set in a second. You don't have to do it right this moment, but in the poll, it's going to be a place where you can put in your rating. So you'll see each of the items as well, and each one will have the 0, 1, 2, and 3 descriptors next to them. It won't identify who filled out what rating. So don't worry about that. It'll just be a nice way for us to see the data all together. And then, as I mentioned, if you want to share, you can. But take a look at each of these statements and consider for yourself how you would rate on that action levels or comfort levels of 0 to 3 for each of these descriptors. So let's take a couple moments, and we'll give you some time to do that once the poll is launched. And we will take a look at that in just a couple minutes.
All right, I think we can probably publish the poll.
Okie dokie. So let's just take a look at where folks are who were able to fill this out. We asked you to consider how comfortable you are explaining the item descriptions to a colleague, identifying domains and modules. And we have folks who are finding that something that they're comfortable doing, right? Those are comfortable strengths that exist for those who have provided their feedback or self-reflection. Then we asked you to think about the comfort level in explaining to a youth or family the action levels, how ratings will communicate the current functioning, the needs and strengths, right? What explaining to families, how comfortable. Someone's very comfortable doing this, and someone else hasn't had the need or yet the opportunity to do that. So something to maybe not see as a strength in ourselves yet if we haven't tried it, but it'll be exciting to see how it goes when we do get a chance to try that. In addition to the collaboration with youth and families, this is something we want people to think about when you think about where you are in your fluency and comfort, right? So we have, again, this spread of very comfortable to not yet done. So good to know. We also want to take into account our own comfort level, discussing with a colleague how they might complete the cans with a youth or child with that focus on culture and development, the key principle number 4, right? Very important to make sure it's the voice and choice of the youth and family. And that is something that is part of learning the CANs and being comfortable with the basic elements of it, and then enhancing the use of it through these key principles. So again, we have a little bit of a spread here with very comfortable to still working and still learning on that. And then we asked you to think about, are you comfortable developing that theory of change based on a shared vision with the family, right? Looking ahead at what will things look like when our work is complete, or when our work has been a transformation from where we are now. And so this is something that also our group that commented are both feeling it's useful and comfortable to at least some degree with. And then the last thing that we want to consider when we're self-reflecting on our level of use of the CANs and our fluency is, are we comfortable guiding a colleague through the process of taking the needs and strengths that are developed or that are identified and then organizing those? Can we take that organization to then develop a plan of care with the relevant items that we have been able to pull from the family story? And again, we're spread here, very comfortable and still working. Still learning, not yet comfortable. I've done a little bit of that. So thank you for sharing your thoughts and your feedback here. I'm going to move the poll off of our screen right now. And let's take sorry, one moment. I just want to bring up. So when you look at these 5 or A, B, C, D, E, and F, those are 6, yep, 6 different descriptors here. What are some of the things that come out to those of you that are here today? Were these questions helpful to consider? Oh, okay, this is, if I break down from saying, okay, how comfortable am I with the CANs to these descriptions, right? We talk a lot about how the best way to know whether you understand something is how well can you teach it or explain it to someone else. It's always a great way to practice your craft, or to realize and say, you know what, I can't explain that as well as I thought I could. I need to check in and make sure I'm understanding it better. So were these descriptors helpful in being able to reflect on maybe some of those spots that are more comfortable or less comfortable in where you are?
I would say for me, going through these questions, put more things in perspective, because as I was reading all of them, I'm like, wow, I actually do all of that. So it was pretty interesting, because we usually don't see everything we do in writing. And one of the things I started reflecting was when I started with the cancer assessment almost 5 years ago to now. At the beginning, I couldn't do any of these. And kind of what you're talking about teaching, because I'm doing this through being a CANS coach, I keep getting better, and crafting my expertise, and still have aha moments and make notes for myself all the time. But it was just interesting to see it written out and actually being able to rate myself and like, okay, so I'm actually good right now, or where I want to be at least with this.
Nice, excellent.
Yeah, I want to point out too that alone can build your confidence and your fluency, right? If you get to the point where you're really confident, wow, I didn't know that I was like in this spot with all of this information, that can kind of put you in a position to move to the next level with this stuff. So I think that's a great observation.
Yes, like sometimes we're in our own way, right? We're our own barrier to really allowing ourselves to get to free ourselves to have that confidence. But what I really like about these descriptors also is it kind of standardizes for all of us to reflect and step back on, okay, so these are sort of the key skills that someone who is fluent, who has this art of delivering the CANs and having the use be within the TCOM framework to make a difference in the lives of children and families. It isn't just, do I know all the items, right? There's levels to this. Some of it is concrete, some of it is more theoretical, and also some of it is that efficiency. So it is layered. And I agree with both of you that seeing, oh, these are the things that I want to really be good at. And okay, I think this is okay. Or, you know what? Maybe I'm focusing a little too much on something else, and I need to maybe refocus in these areas that'll really build up the work I'm doing. So I think it is a really nice set of ways to self-reflect as well on our fluency. And so if we look at this graphic again, that the fluency development graphic, keep in mind that self-assessment that you hopefully have all done in one way or another, even if not on the poll, but you had some time to consider those reflective statements. And now place yourself somewhere on where that might meet in this fluency model. Now, of course, people don't ever fit nicely into any boxes in life, nor do we want anybody to. So, we are probably going to straddle between two, or maybe even some elements that are, spaced away from one another in certain things, because we all have different levels of strength, weakness, and comfort levels of things. So try to gauge where you are right now in this, according to this model. And the reason we want you to do that is because the main question that we are going to focus on for the rest of the time together is this: how can I move from where I am now? How can I build? How can I go to the next level of fluency, right? And really what that comes out to be is my own self-reflection. How can I build myself so that I feel more fluent, more confident, so that my reflection, not so much what someone else is going to assign to me, but when I look at those descriptors that we just asked you to look at in yourself and ask where you feel comfortable, how can I become more comfortable with maybe some of the places that that I'm not? How can I learn? So how are we going to move up this scale, up these levels of fluency? And hopefully by today, we want folks to be able to take away having the next step plan of action. What is it, the next thing you're going to work on? And so for the remainder of our time, Brandon is going to actually walk through what the characteristics are going to look like so you can identify within yourself, but also in others that maybe you supervise or work with. But really then, what are some key activities or practices that can help you build to the next level of skill?
Absolutely. So thank you, Barry. So I'm going to walk us through each of the 4 levels. However, based on the fact of what we see in terms of fluency throughout the state of New York, and for care managers and care management agencies, that being most of our folks are at the novice and developing level, we're going to spend a little bit more time in the novice and developing levels. Okay, so we will cover all 4, right, in the limited time that we have. But think about how you might move through these different levels, right? As Barry kind of depicted, you all have a sense of where you are right now. So let's jump right in. So at the novice level, you'll see a list of potential skills for care managers. At this level, you're really orienting yourself with the tool. You're becoming familiar with the item names, the item definitions in that reference guide, and as well as the domains and the modules and what they're really intended to capture. At the novice level, you're often referring to your 0 to 5 and your 6 to 21 manual. You're making sense of the information within those reference guides. You're trying to learn as you're assessing, right? You're fixing the plane as you're flying it. It's like building fluency in any other endeavor that you might have. I like to sort of analogize it to a language, right? So at this level, you're really trying to structure some words. Like I think about some folks that are bilingual, right? You're trying to structure some words. You're really trying to, you're using the thesaurus, you're using a dictionary, you're using a conjugation guide at this point. And so that's, sort of the analogy for your reference guide. You're getting a real sense of the 2 action level scales, right? The strength scale as well as the need scale. You're understanding that they're not exactly the same thing. At this novice level, you're also coming to a really good sense of what TCOM is, what that's all about. You're understanding that this is a tool that's intended to be used in collaboration with other people, other professionals. And so that's sort of a snapshot of what we're seeing for most folks at this novice level. So what can you really do to build up your fluency, right? So remember, Barry kind of stated this earlier, that one of our goals for today's session is for you all to leave with some strategies on how to sort of develop your own fluency. So on this particular slide, here's some strategies to do that, right? So what are they? Knowing what your resources are, knowing what your resources are that exist within your communities, asking questions, what might exist, utilizing the experience of the people that are in your office. These folks are, to build up your fluency in this level, become certified, right? If you're already certified, certifying a different tool, sharpen your skills, have your reference guide handy, have it whenever you're certifying, you want to have that reference guide, have it every time you're conducting a CANS in the field. You also want to have it whenever you're having conversations with anyone on the interdisciplinary team. And I think the reason that you want to do that is because, it's a really good resource for folks that are trying to get a foundation with this tool. Talk about the CANS with your colleagues, shadow some of them, particularly seasoned veterans, right? Seasoned care managers. Go to their CANS sessions and see what's working well for them. Try to emulate some of the language and some of the approaches. Remember that the CANS is not a linear tool. You don't have to start in one particular domain. You might see someone go to, our CANS New York, the 6 to 21 version, as well as the 0 to 5 version, starts with the caregiver needs and strengths, right? Caregiver needs and resources. And so you don't necessarily have to start at that domain. Maybe you want to focus on some strengths first and then jump into some of the needs items. All right, you want to reach out to your supervisor if you're struggling with the tool or you want to learn more about the tool. In addition to that, reach out to some of your CANS coaches. We have a CANS coach on the call right now, right? So reach out to your regional leads, reach out to your coaches. There are coaches in every region of the state of New York, okay? Has anyone actively done any of the strategies that we see listed on the screen here? Have we participated in sort of any of these? I suspect that that's going to be a yes based on our poll questions. I see some heads nodding, absolutely. So how do you take it to the next level? In addition to that, right? Take it to the next level. Well, I'd say what we typically do in our sessions, and you guys have probably heard me say this before, that we sort of illustrate some really good strategies, and then we demonstrate what those strategies look like, and then we practice. So at this point, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to practice. So one of the best ways to learn the item names and domains, as well as the modules, is to practice rating them from a domain perspective. Okay, so we're going to take a moment to focus on one specific domain. We're going to look at the risk behaviors domain. We're going to talk about and discuss how to accurately rate that domain, and by understanding those item definitions. Okay, so I'm going to ask for some active participation here. All right, so moving forward, here is the risk domains. Okay, take a moment to look at the risk domains. I am going to be very, very kind to you. I am always kind. And I placed the CANS New York 6 to 21 reference guide into the chat box. I want to just ask anyone on the call, anyone to explain, right? So we have the items listed here, from suicide risk to eating disorder. If you can, without looking in your reference guide yet, I want to see if you all can explain the definition for any of the items that are listed here. So just take a stab at it. Look at one of the definitions or two of the definitions and see if you can really, bring the definition to the surface. What do you think those items are trying to capture?
And again, we don't have to start at the top, not linear. Choose one that you're comfortable with and just feel free to unmute. Just tell us what it means.
I guess I'll lead. So I'll do fire setting. That's basically focusing if the child is currently or has a history of any type of fire setting, either intentionally or unintentionally. Maybe has unintentionally set up a fire without really wanting to, for example, maybe cooking and left, I don't know, a piece of paper near the stove or anything like that. Or intentionally, literally kind of like that pyro type behavior, which sometimes we see in clients, likes to play with matches and things like that. So that's really what we're looking at. What is that right now? The level of need. Is there a need? Is there a history just to monitor, or do we actually have to do something about this right now?
Absolutely. I like the fact that you were kind of spot on when we think about fire setting as something that could be intentional or accidental, right? Sharice mentioned that we're sort of capturing the youth's experienced, whether or not the youth has experienced any behaviors that perhaps are detrimental to their functioning. So Sharice, yes, that's what the entire domain is trying to capture. What do you think? Sharice, pick one of the items here listed and take a shot at what you think that item is trying to capture, and then we'll move forward.
So I'll go with self-injurious behavior. And I feel like that's trying to capture a couple of different things. Not only are you self-injurious, to yourself, but also does that impact out into anyone else, within your vicinity at the time these behaviors occur?
Yeah, I think that's close, right? So that item is going to describe any repetitive type of self-harm where your intentions are to not suicidal in nature, right? They're not trying to end their own lives, but perhaps an injury is part of what the goal is. I want to point out that Bianca says bullying, focusing on history of being engaged in bullying, either in school or in the community. Yeah, so that's what we're looking at. There's a difference between bullying and being bullied. And so this item, clearly being bullied or bullying someone else, both of those separate items, that's item 83. But both of them are sort of represent circumstances that could present be presented as detrimental, right? All right, so let's do this. We're going to jump into a case example. And I want you guys to think about this list of all of the items that are here. I've already given you the reference guide in the chat box. I want you to quickly download that. We have a case example, and I want you to flesh out any of the items that we see as a need from the risk behaviors domain. All right, we're talking about the novice fluency. Dave, 16-year-old, states that he's stressed out about his school, thoughts of killing himself. He just completed junior year of high school, and the school has recommended that he repeat the grade due to excessive school absences in the final 3 months of school. During that time, Dave was a runaway from his group home. He explains that he was hiding out to avoid assault charges after an incident with some gang members in the community. Dave stated that he was just defending himself from the kids that were trying to get him involved with the gang. This was the first time he was in a fight, and he was pretty shaken up by the experience. What risk behaviors domain items do you see sort of popping out at you regarding 16-year-old Dave? Here's the list again, right? If you don't have that reference guide that I sent over in the chat box, we're looking at page number 13 in that reference guide. You can either say them or write them in the chat box. And what I typically tell folks is just give me a nugget, give me just a little bit of justification and evidence for it in the vignette. So Dr. Arabella says suicide risk. Where do we see the suicide risk? Do we see that? First sentence, has thoughts of killing himself. Absolutely. So that suicide risk item would be on your radar. Sharice says suicide risk delinquent behavior. Okay. Where's the delinquent behavior? Sharice, you can unmute yourself.
Oh, I am unmuted. Well, what I saw in delinquent behavior would be truancy. Also, he did get into a fight, and that's technically against, you're not supposed to. And then also, he was hiding out to avoid assault charges, which is evading the law. So that's where I kind of found that.
Got it. And so part of this level of fluency is being able to look at this and pull out the things that are directly related to any particular module or any particular domain, right? Running away from the group home. Absolutely. Bianca, thank you. Yeah, so running away from the group home, I think that would probably count. All right, so let's do this. I think you guys are solid on the novice. Let's jump into developing. So for developing, at this stage, the focus is really for the care managers to develop their skills around really being familiar, right? So you're taking a leap from the novice level, and there's a level of comfort in the developing level, at this developing level. There's enough familiarity with the domains as well as the items and the action levels that the care manager can really practice some of their learned skills. One area of focus that we sort of see at this level is learning to build a consensus around the tool. So we're talking about a general agreement around ratings that are actionable or not actionable, needs that are strengths that are useful or not useful, right? Things that could be developed and used later. So this process typically goes smoothly for the majority of the items on the assessment tool. Care managers at this level will typically need some sort of assistance building that consensus as their rating, right? So it's not going to sort of be super comfortable at this point, but you're getting comfortable with collaborating with other folks. Also, you can complete the cans with the family. I know that a lot of care managers struggle with being comfortable with completing the cans in the presence of the family. Using the action levels to actually resolve conflict, right? Using the action levels to build consensus, right? Seeing that, the kid is seeing this item as a 1, and the caregiver is seeing this item as a 3, there's some conflict there. That so at this level, they're taking that conflict and they're able to build a consensus around it. And also the last thing that I would sort of point out for the developing level is that the care managers are probably using the cans in their discussions about that plan of care. So what can we do to further develop our skills in this particular area? We're going to teach our new care managers. So if you're a seasoned care manager, teach the folks that are coming through the door. Pass on that knowledge, the things that you know about the tool already. Encourage your own supervisor to go over it with you in your supervisory sessions with them. Make it a point to talk about the cans in your interdisciplinary team meetings, your IDT meetings. And make it a point to talk with the team from the team members from those teams. Make it a point to talk cans with them outside of those meetings as well. Also, attend as many live trainings as possible. These lunch and learn series, we're producing a lot of content to specifically help people build their comfort and fluency with the tool as well. All right.
And if you can't attend them live, each of these are also recorded and posted on a library on the CANS Institute website. So you can always go back and self-develop watching those.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to move forward. And we are almost at time, but we're going to briefly go over confident and then advanced. So at this level, your activities, you're sort of really comfortable, right? You're really comfortable with this. You no longer need the reference guide. You don't necessarily need the manual all the time. You have a really good sense of what the items are trying to capture. And you have a really good understanding about the structure of the manual itself, right? You understand that the descriptive language is just guidance and that the action levels are sort of the anchor to any decisions that you're making for ratings. You're incorporating referral information into your conversations with the team. You are sort of making updates to the living, breathing document that is the CANS as you're monitoring progress, either progress or regressions, right? So at this level, you're really smooth. You're incorporating that information into that plan of care as well. At the final level, advanced level, what we see is care managers that have sort of mastery of the novice, developing, and confident levels, but also are able to identify and align the targeted goals, the targeted treatment needs with the background needs, as well as the anticipated outcomes, right? So we're thinking about what all of the moving pieces really mean. You're able to incorporate that stuff into the plan of care in a way that it's a smooth transition, right? So at this point, you're you no longer need the thesaurus, you no longer need the dictionary or the conjugation guide. You're out here speaking the language. You have a really good sense of what that's going to look like. Strategies for increasing your comfort. You want to identify barriers to your fluency. Are there any things or any structures or mechanisms in your way for learning how to better utilize the tool? identify it, and then work on it. Brainstorm and discuss with your colleagues the best way that they increase their own comfort levels, and try to emulate that as well to increase your comfort levels. You want to use some more shadowing, and request supervisory help, right? So you've heard these 4 bullet points, but we wanted to stress the fact that these are probably going to be monumental in your ability to sort of stratify any of those last 2 levels, right? So if you're jumping from confidence developing or developing to advanced, you really want to practice these particular strategies. All right, so next steps, and then we're done.
Yes, and to add to some of those other strategies as well, if you're someone who does feel that you work or learn much more and your learning is enhanced by working with others and learning with others or teaching others, please feel free to get your team together, talk with a supervisor, reach out to one of us at the Institute, because we do have, we offer a chance to just come and crash your team meeting when you on a regularly scheduled time, and we can help sort of facilitate a group rating activity, which is a great way to practice maybe a case from one of the folks on your team, and to talk it through in a similar way or a more expanded way, like we did the exercise a few moments ago, where we can look at not just one domain, but look at where the items, where they fit. And it's another way to sort of, enhance a lot of the skills where we're building consensus, where you're practicing the CANS language, especially for those at, developing level that want to become more confident. So if there aren't enough ideas here, then I would say the best thing to do is to reach out to us at the Institute, and we can offer suggestions either with our own direct learning or ways and resources for you to continue developing your fluency. So with that, all of that we've gone through in this quick hour, we want you to think about it. What is something you took away from today in this very short time we had together that was an aha, or something you haven't engaged in that you will probably be able to use as a next step to increase that fluency for yourself? Who would like to share with us a next step you have in mind? Or a question?
So I'll share. I definitely got an aha moment from today, which is awesome, but more in terms of me supervising my team and working in my program to make sure that they have fluency. And it's something that my supervisor and I have been doing, Jeremy, putting together some mini trainings for the program. But one of the things I saw here, definitely breaking it down like you did with the ratings. I think that's going to be so valuable to try to figure out where exactly it is that my team and the program needs assistance, because it's mostly kind of like a general thing, and CANS is so complex that usually everyone's like, oh, we got it. But then when it's rating time or when I'm doing case reviews with the team, it's like, wait, there's something off.
Yeah, pulling back those layers of an onion, right? There's always more to discover. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely breaking it down, I think even more. That's something that I'm gonna bring back to my program to try to see if that can help even more.
Great, thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah, Charisse, thank you. Discuss with my supervisor a few areas I noticed I may be overthinking or overcompensating, and get suggestions on how to continue to work through that. Yeah, that's a great self-reflection, right? A lot of times we might be overthinking or perhaps underthinking. Maybe we're masking or not identifying needs that are there because we feel bad. If it's a skilled caregiver, we don't want to hurt their feelings, but really a need exists, right? Those are kinds of some things that we really see at that level too, jumping from novice to developing, and being able to self-reflect on keeping our own biases or our own judgments sometimes in check as well. I know that is also, that's a big leap as well that some folks need to make. Great, thank you. Anything else?
Bianca, Emily, any thoughts? If not, that's okay too.
Yep.
Showing you guys some resources.
Yep. And, if questions do come up, please feel free to reach out to anyone here. We will also be offering this Lunch and Learn again on October 27th. If you are interested in reviewing it again or participating again as questions might come up, you're more than welcome to do that and to crash that party. And also, if you can take a moment as well, we have a feedback survey link that we put in the chat box. Again, offer some suggestions for our future topics, but also a few very quick questions in reflection on today. If there was something you were able to take out of today and hopefully meet those objectives in what we hope to accomplish for a tool for self-reflection and some ideas to strategize to move forward in your fluency. Thank you for being here, for spending your lunchtime with us on a Friday. And I'll be here for a couple minutes if anyone wants to stick around for anything individual.
Thank you, Barry, Brandon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a wonderful weekend.